Going to talk about Thunderbirds and now. Aha! We were wondering, because I haven't seen this before, it's Thunderbird 2, obviously. Thunderbird 2, for those who don't know, was the giant craft that carried the other things inside it.
Does look big.
So if there was an emergency situation that they had to respond to, Thunderbird 2 would take something, and inside Thunderbird 2 would drop down some equipment to sort out whatever the crisis was.
No need to watch the reruns now. It's been more than 60 years since Lady Penelope, Virgil and Alan Tracy blasted onto our TV screens in Thunderbirds.
So this weekend, a special concert in Birmingham will recreate the music of Gerry Anderson's iconic puppets in this city where many of the show's sound effects were made. Our reporter Ben Sidwell has more.
They're some of the most iconic TV programmes ever produced, but it's a little-known fact that the classic sound effects for shows such as Thunderbirds and Stingray were produced in a recording studio in Birmingham.
Just the sound of debris falling afterwards.
The shows were created by Gerry Anderson, and at Grosvenor Road Studios in Handsworth, his son Jamie has given me a guided tour through some of the much-loved effects that brought those programmes to life.
In Stingray, Phones and Troy sit in their seats in Control Tower, and then they are injected down into Stingray. So this is the sound of the injector tubes.
Creating the sound effects back in the 1960s were John and Jean Taylor, who owned Hollick and Taylor Studios, as it was called back then.
Gerry would come and they'd see some of the rushes, and then they'd have to make the sound effects for the explosions or the rockets going into the air, and they'd often just look around the studio or go into the garden just behind us, find pebbles or nuts and bolts, and they'd just shake them and experiment, Foley type of sound effects, and that became an iconic part of the sound of Thunderbirds.
But the programme's sound effects weren't the only thing to come from Birmingham. Probably the most famous character in any of Gerry Anderson's shows was created by John Blundell, a puppeteer based here at the city's Midlands Arts Centre.
Come in, Parker. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Keep a lookout for a stranger leaving the building.
Yes, milady.
I was trying to think about the kind of cliché butlers in typical black and white English comedy films. The profile is extremely important, and look at him, he looks a little bit like a parrot.
Just to know that part of that iconic show, and such an important part, was created here, really. Its spirit and its origin is in Birmingham. It's kind of unusual, but a really lovely piece of the puzzle.
The concert celebrating the music of Gerry Anderson's shows will take place at Birmingham Symphony Hall, in the city that helped to shape the sound and look of these treasured programmes. Ben Sidwell, BBC News.
Did you enjoy that?
I did, actually. I did.
Good.